Hello, everyone. Welcome to Talks and Giggles with Courtney. I'm your host, Courtney. So, in today's video, it's going to be a little tough. I'm going to be talking about my personal experience with dealing with depression and where I noticed when it actually started, and how and when it got really bad. So grab yourself a drink, grab some snacks, grab a blanket, and maybe grab some tissues because we might be shedding a few tears together. So let's just get right on it. So I noticed my depression got really bad, or where I noticed that it actually started to come to light was in 2013 when I lost my grandfather. That definitely took a toll on me physically and mentally. It happened when I was still going to public school. So I was kind of on and off going to school. I was skipping school on purpose because mentally I just didn't want to deal with anything or anyone. And I want to say end of 2013, beginning of 2014, because my grandfather passed away in September of 2013. So it was kind of late 2013, early 2014 when I developed a not so good coping mechanism with it. I got into self-harming, and I don't want to go into full detail because I, one, don't want to trigger people, and two, I don't want this video to not be able to get posted because I think depression is something that really needs to be talked about. So, yeah. So like I said, mentally, I just was not in the right headspace. Academically, I didn't care. I could have failed that entire grade that year if I wanted to, because I just wasn't doing the work. And yeah, I didn't realize how hard this video was gonna be. Like, my brain is just trying to just skip over it because I've always held it in, even though I knew I had friends and family I could talk to, but I just never wanted to bring them down with my mood. And I just didn't want to bother them with my problems, even though they always told me, "You're never a bother to me." But I just still never really told anybody. I just always held it in, kept it to myself, and just went on about my day. And then, nighttime is where it got worse, so I wasn't sleeping. I really wasn't eating. So it was a mess. I was a mess. So, like I said, end of 2013, beginning of 2014, I developed self-harming as a coping mechanism because it was a hurt I couldn't control instead of a hurt I couldn't control, if that makes sense to anybody. And I knew, well, I don't want to say I knew of self-harm. I heard of it, but I myself never physically seen anyone doing it. And, I never thought a day in my life that that would be me, but it is. It is me. And then off, going on with the years, I just, got good at hiding my emotions and everything. Sometimes it came out as anger, and some people got that part of it. And, I'm sorry if those of you who are watching, if you got the end of it with my anger. Just, I was holding everything in. And, one small thing, like a simple act of a pen falling or something, was the tip of the iceberg. And it would just flip a switch and I would just be angry. And then, I was kind of isolating myself and not really talking to anyone. I also was never the one to go hang out with friends. I was a homebody, so I always wanted my friends to come to my house. But anyway, I'm sorry, guys. My brain is just really not wanting to talk about this. So let's just get right into no, this is okay. This is gonna be all over. I am so sorry. So 2016, I kind of already talked about this in a previous video. 2016, I got into my first serious relationship. And in the beginning, it was fine. Well, I thought it was fine in the beginning. But then later down the road, it ended up being very toxic and not good mentally. So that made my depression worse. It was constant fighting, cheating, me taking him back, and yeah, then late 2017, 2018, I said no, goodbye. Then, from then on, my depression was still very bad, and I was in counseling, but didn't really truly open up to my counselor because she didn't seem like she cared, to be honest. So that was cool. Then 2020 came along, peak of COVID. We had to pretty much get isolated. We couldn't travel, couldn't really go anywhere. And so I was home and then in my room alone with my thoughts, and it was just getting really bad. This is a trigger warning now. I would I'm so sorry, my brain just really is a blur right now, and I am truly sorry, but so 2013 up until 2019, 2020, all throughout those years, I was thinking of ways to unsubscribe from life and not necessarily do them, but I was just coming up with different scenarios in how it would look like an accident. But 2020 is where I really wanted to make one of those scenarios happen. And I remember just sitting at the dining room table with my parents, and I just had a complete mental breakdown in front of them, and I said, I don't know what to do for help. I don't know if I should go to the hospital, get on medication or something. And they looked at me, and all I did was I just cried. And I said, if it wasn't for you guys and knowing that I would be passing the pain on to you, I would unsubscribe from life. But because I knew I was going to be passing on the pain to my parents, I'm sorry, guys. I would never go through with it because I didn't want to pass the pain on. And I told them, I said, if I knew that the pain wouldn't be passed on, I would do it. So my parents were like, well, do you want to go to the hospital? And I was like, not really, because I never heard good things about the hospital where I live. So I talked to my doctor at the time, I think. I talked to someone and got prescribed antidepressants, but that just made everything worse, so I stopped them. And just kind of had to deal with it because the antidepressants weren't helping, and I didn't want to just keep trial and erroring different medications. I've never been the one to just go straight to pills. But that's where it got bad, is the peak of COVID, because we had to pretty much stay in our homes, so I was alone with my thoughts. And like I said, I just never really opened up to anybody until that day where I told my parents. And yeah, and then, I still was going through my depression, and I got to that point in life. I was just like, living life day by day. Just kind of still ready to give up, but couldn't. And then I want to say 2021, God placed my husband randomly in my life. And then since then, my depression just hasn't been bad. I'll have my moments here and there, only because I'm going through something else that is a different topic for a different day. But yeah, I'm sorry my brain fogged literally throughout this whole entire video. I'm sorry I was just kind of a ramble mess, but that's what we're here for. But that is my personal story on dealing with depression. Once again, I apologize for it just being a ramble mess, for it being all over the place. But I just want to let anybody out there who's dealing with depression, there are people out there who do care about you. Please don't be like me and hold it in until it's too late. Please reach out to somebody, even if it's me, because I know what it feels like to hold it in. But please just reach out to somebody, because it's really not good to hold it in. But that concludes today's video. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!